What's up, traders, and thank you so much for leaving enough comments on last week's video for the second ever trending stock analysis video to come out. So you guys left enough comments where I thought there would be value in providing this video for this week. If you want it to keep coming out, again, you guys just have to leave me a thumbs up or leave me comments with stocks you want to see reviewed for next week's video. There's 7 in this week's. I'm thinking I'll do between 7 and 10, 7 to 12 stocks, depending on how many comments we get and what's the most popular stock. So we're going to start off with XOP, which is oil. So you can see we have, like in IWM, if you're looking at our weekly watch list video, we had a nice bull flag to the upside, consolidation period. So I'd say the key on this one is if we want to see a major move to the upside, we've got to get above 26.14 for our next leg up here and then target the 200 SMA. And B, we're sort of at a key point right now. We have a bit of a double bottom formed just based on these two lows from Thursday, Friday. 50 SMA is right below us. I would be okay with the price essentially coming down and testing the 50 SMA before moving in the upside direction. If it sort of gets back down below that, I'd say that this is just another lower high from here. You can see this is our high here. We have lower high, lower high, lower high, but now we're starting to retest that. So if we get back down below here, then this is just going to be a lower high from here. We do want to see those higher highs start forming, so we have a higher low that first needs to be formed, and I'd say if it forms somewhere around this area, that would be a good sign. BYND, we looked at this one last time. Some things I'm seeing now that I might have missed earlier is some sort of a resistance trend line that's sort of drawn in like this. You can see we're just sort of narrowing in this range, which is actually pretty cool to see. It means that the price is essentially coiling up to make a move in one direction or another. When the range gets really tight, normally it tends to lead to a big expansion in range in one direction or another. So what direction that'll be, who really knows? I would monitor for continuation here to the downside. Essentially, we had this big bubble up, and now it's sort of resolving here. So whether or not it wants to consolidate further and then move to the downside, we have targets below. You can see our lows from the first touch on the downside here is right around 136.93. Anything to the upside, if we break out of the triangle to the upside, we're going to target 182 on the 182.90 rather on the upside as sort of the starting area of the top side of the range. So keep those two areas in mind if we break above or below this symmetrical triangle and consolidation that's forming. Visa was also recommended, which actually, if you look at the longer time frame, very, very bullish stock, very bullish. So kind of opened my eyes to that one. Thanks for that. But you can see we have a couple trend lines that we could draw in here. We have something that looks like this. If you connect our lows, sort of something like that. We're starting to violate and push down below or test this support trend line. We want to see it hold up. It is in a nice uptrend overall in the longer time frame. So if it holds up, that'd be a great entry here. For a longer term hold, we would target something at least up into our all-time high up here around 187.05. Again, this to me looks like some consolidation and sideways action. From here, it's either going to break to the upside or downside. We have our support and lower sort of end of the balance down there, and upper resistance. That's a little high, actually. Maybe it's actually even a trend line. Maybe it's something like this. Yeah, that feels better. So if we break above and can clear this 50 SMA, again, we're targeting our swing high, all-time high up here at 187.05. However, if we break down below some of this support down here, I'd say we could target this area in the chart down here with our recent low, that is 166.92. ACB is in a nice downtrend here. You can see that we have very clear downward, from here to here. Obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, but the 200 SMA is sort of going sideways at this point, sort of recovering and regurgitating some of this upwards action, sideways action. Essentially, overall, the longer term, very, very longer term trend is sideways, but the recent term trend noted by the 50 SMA here is obviously down. We do have a small baby little hammer candle down here, but there's no real structure for it to go off of. If we look back in the chart, there's some sort of stuff back here, but not much in terms of support. With the recent downtrend being so strong, maybe we see another lower high be put in. I'd say maybe we could target, we already had the right tool. It's a little. So if we use that as a resistance trend line, maybe we target a lower high somewhere in here, which is going to sort of coincide with that 50 SMA as it keeps moving down. So if this little baby hammer does resolve to a bounce, targeting somewhere in this area on the chart, again, that's between, let's just call it $6 and $5.50, just to call some round numbers in there. So look for a lower high to be put in, and then a move lower. This could offer some resistance on the way back up as well if we use some of our previous support there at 546. So keep that area in the chart in mind as well. SQ looks like it suffered from a big gap down here around earnings, sort of just dribbling lower ever since. It is starting to put in a higher low, which is sort of interesting here. We do want to see a nice new higher high form. So we have low, higher low forming. We want to see this area on the chart hold. Let's draw on a support there just to sort of keep it in mind, and then one here on the lower side. So if we can hold above this level, that's a good sign. We are putting in higher low, as I talked about, but we do need to break above this area 60-61 on the chart to put in a higher high and start forming that uptrend. So potential resistance trend line that we have looks something like that. We do need to get target somewhere in this area for that next higher high and then break above it. In which case I would target our moving averages as the next resistance point. On the downside, I'm going to have to scrunch up the chart a bit to see if there's any supports below us. So just based on a much longer term time frame, you can see that our next support is all the way down here at our nice whole number there at $50. So keep that in mind. If this level gives, the stock could essentially make it down there to $50 if it dribbles lower and lower and lower. All right, Shopify was one of my own stocks that I came across. If you look at our trend line here, we have touch 1, touch 2, and now you can see we're finally getting into that same trend line down here. We had a nice move up, and now it's pulling back, which is completely fine and healthy, really, for such an aggressive move in the upside direction. If you still believe in the trend, and I think you should based on the overall picture of the chart, this could be a great longer-term entry here on Shopify. The move would be a break above this sort of resistance zone in here, right around 330. If we can get back above that, I think that we are headed back in the upwards direction. Essentially, we don't want to see this trend line get violated. I'd give it a little bit of wiggle room. If you want to put a stop down below it or something, then that could be a play there. But this is a good entry here on Shopify, in my opinion, in such a strong uptrending stock. A nice pullback here, healthy pullback nonetheless. I think this, like I said, provides a great entry. All right, last up we have a penny stock here, which is TRNX. I don't normally trade these, so I'm not sure how well my analysis will hold up. Normally the larger stocks tend to respect technical analysis a little bit better than some of the small cap stuff, very small and not a lot of volume here either for such a small stock. So it does look like we have some support down here at 162, however, so I'll mention that. That looks like a good zone if you wanted to pick up some shares. I don't think overall this isn't a huge downtrend. If we look at the broader term picture of the chart, you can just see, it's a penny stock that's been getting hammered over the course of, it doesn't even show up with all the reverse splits. You can just see how this chart looks. So it's not something that I would trade personally. However, if you're just looking to get in and out over the course of a day, over the course of a couple minutes, then I think that's completely fine. If you want to scalp it, take it for what it is, but I wouldn't get in this as a long-term investment. You can see the chart history just doesn't prove that it's a longer-term investment. So resistance, Friday obviously showed its hand up here at 278 based on the high of that candle. I think if there's any sort of move to the upside, that's another good resistance target there at 330. It looks like we do have some support down here based on where this flag sort of started, pulled back into 196, and then had this, it was a gap up, and then it filled to the downside. So again, I'm not really sure how these smaller stocks react and sort of move. So I hope this analysis sort of gives you some value, pointing out some of these areas of resistance and support here. I hope they're not too vague and, whatnot, but these are some areas on the chart if I were trading it that I would be paying attention to. So we have 330 as our upmost resistance, 278 as resistance above, 231 as resistance above now that we did close below it there on Friday, 196 as support on the downside if we see a further pullback, and then the lowest I'd want to see it go is here at 162. If that's violated, then I just say this thing goes lower and lower and lower. Alrighty, so that's it for this week's episode of Trending Stock Analysis. If you want to see me review anything that you want, let me know down below in the comments section. Leave the video a thumbs up so I know that it's valuable to keep on doing it. Again, thanks for tuning in, and I wish you a green trading week.